last week's entries aside, it's been a great year and we've had a lot of fun. But unfortunately, we've been gaining two new hosts, losing Korean for an extended period of time, and burning ourselves out on blue stacks. So between all those things, we have barely put a dent in our backlog, which brings us to today's topic.
Just realized that it's already quite late and we have some news to talk about.
Not too much. I mean, we don't really have any news.
Degradation.
Yeah, degradation. Yeah, we don't have any real news. We have. We're just gonna talk a bit about the Game Awards. So the Game Awards were this past week or last week. Recent.
Last week.
Yeah, last week. So they were.
Because
recent.
we like precision.
They were recent. So they were between last episode and this episode. So we're just going to talk about them a bit because we don't really have too much other news. But so some surprising results. The best game, where is it? Best game, the game of the year was It Takes Two, which I've seen some really mixed reactions. I mean, like I've heard a lot of people saying like, what is this game? I've never heard of this game. And I'm like, how have you not heard about this game? It's been all over the news all year. Everyone talks about this game
so much.
And I
think agree so much.
Yeah, it's like, how could you have not heard of this? Like, come on, seriously. But I think that's cool. I think it's interesting that, you know, it wasn't your typical kind of game. This was an experiment. You know, let's do a co-op game that requires two people and everything. And I think maybe that's part of the reason why a lot of people didn't hear about it. Is because it's not your typical, you know, it's not a shooter, it's not an RPG. It is very much a co-op game, and if you don't have somebody to play with, so
it's a co-op puzzle game, and there's so much love into it. Honestly, find a friend and play it. He really deserves it. I really, really, really love this game. Like game of the year, yeah, totally, I agree.
I was really. Yeah, I mean, I haven't played it, but looking at the reviews and looking at what people have said and looking at gameplay of it, I'm like, okay, yeah, I like that, you know. And then looking at the other options there, Deathloop, you know, that had a lot of mixed reactions. Metroid Dread, you know, it's good, but I don't know if that would be considered a game of the year kind of game. Psychonauts 2, the only other one that I think maybe Ratchet and Clank, but that's only on PlayStation, so you know, it kind of feels weird to say game of the year is only accessible by a corner of the market. I think the only other game that had that it was even competition was maybe Resident Evil Village. I think was probably the only game that could have
won
competed
because it was very good.
Yeah, so I think it was down, but it was down to those two, and I'm perfectly happy with either one. So, what I thought was really weird was what was it? The player's voice. Yeah, okay. So the player's voice winner. So basically, players got to vote for their own game, and got to pick which game they thought would be, you know, their game of the year. Because obviously, the game last year, that was one of the big things, was The Last of Us 2. Got a lot of nominations, and a lot of but then the player's choice was Ghost of Tsushima, and a lot of people wanted Ghost of Tsushima to win, myself included.
Great.
Yeah, so I really thought that one should have won. But of course it didn't. And so the players this year voted for Halo Infinite, which was really a bizarre choice because when the Game Awards voting occurred, Halo Infinite, the multiplayer beta, had only been out for 3 weeks, and the campaign had not even been released. And then this game is voted player choice, and it's how many people had played this game? So it was, and nobody had actually played the full game. You know, they'd only played the beta of the multiplayer. So for that to be a player's choice, I think is a really odd choice. I don't know. Maybe it is great. Maybe I haven't really played it, but I mean, for me, it just seems like a really bizarre.
The aura of the series and the previous opus worked a lot into.
Yeah. A lot of people were saying that this might just be, you know, because when it came out or when they were doing the voting, Halo Infinite was very much flavor of the month. It was very much the thing that had just come out. So all these people are playing it. It's fresh in their minds. You know, they're like, oh yeah, this game is great. Of course it's game of the year. So there was a bit of a timing bias there. But I haven't played it. I don't know. But yeah, so some of the other ones, best mobile game was Genshin Impact.
Lord of the Ring.
Nope.
Okay.
Genshin Impact. Yeah, I was looking at it too. I was like, oh, is it going to be Lord? No, it's not Lord of the Rings. It's not the one we've been playing. It was
No.
the yeah. Best RPG was Tales of Arise. So
In backlog.
is
And
it?
I didn't talk about it today because I don't like to be spoiled too much, which is why I didn't choose it because I would have no idea where to start.
Yep. Best narrative was Marvel's Guardians of the Galaxy. So I've heard good things about that, especially after the Avengers game. A lot of people were they did not want
Disappointed, huh?
to. Yeah, they were very wary of this one, but a lot of people were very happy with it. So I don't know. That might be one
Okay.
worth picking up. Best multiplayer was It Takes Two, obviously.
Yeah, of course.
Uh,
Yeah.
and yeah, and let's see what other ones we Beth Sadly and most anticipated, of course. Everyone's probably heard about this one, Elden Ring. For the second year in a row, it is the most anticipated game, which is kind of funny because I mean it was the most anticipated game last year because it was supposed to be released this year, but then it got delayed, and so it was in the runnings again and got to
So
win
now
twice in a row. So
you can see them at From Software like, we really have to release it now. Come on, the next
yeah,
year.
yeah,
Don't
yeah.
trust.
Or yeah, if they don't release it this coming year, it's going to become the new meme, and it's just going to get voted every year, just for the sake of that.
Yeah, unfortunately.
Yeah, what really kind of the only thing that really kind of surprised me, other than the Halo thing, because I would have thought like that would have made more sense to go into next year's nominees. I don't know why they
Yeah.
put it in this year. I would have saved it for next year. But
Mm.
then when for best role playing game, when Cyberpunk 2077 was on there, and a lot of people were saying like, oh yeah, Cyberpunk should win, and it was like, why would you nominate that as the best game? I mean, people say it's really great if you can play it. And for me, it's one of those things where it's like, and I guess this is the difference between, I guess this is the difference between doing something where the players are the voters and doing something where the critics are the voters. Because the critics are obviously going to play the game at its optimum. But when it comes to players, it's like, okay, we're going to play a game that half the people, or maybe even more than half the people that bought it, it was not even it couldn't even play it. It was not in a playable state at all, and we're gonna release this as the best RPG of the year. Um, so
Yeah.
when you go to critics, they're not looking at that. They're just looking at like what was the story in its optimal state. What was this supposed to be? So I think that for me seemed like an odd choice. I don't think I would have nominated Cyberpunk. Um, from what I've heard, it is really good if you have a PC that can run it. But I mean, yeah, I wouldn't say that the best game is a game that only the elite can play. Maybe that's just
Yeah.
me.
That's honestly, that's also why I never considered buying it because, as I said, I have a 1660S as a graphic card and I don't think I would be able to run it. Simply, simple as that.
Yeah.
Or if I could, I would run it with low settings and it would be disgusting and what's the point? I like to have my optimal experience.
Yeah, I've debated getting it on PS5. I don't know if I think they put it back up. Oh, they did, but there's no PS5 version of the game yet. There's only the PS4 version. So I was thinking about
Oh,
was waiting until they release because they're still going to release the PS5 upgrade of the Witcher 3, which I'm not going to play because I played the original Witcher and put 200 and something hours into it, and I'm like, I am not ready for another 200-hour game.
with the DLCs and all? I heard the DLCs are great.
Yeah, I got the game of the year edition. Um, but yeah, I put 200 hours into it, and I'm like, I played through everything. Do I need to play through everything again just for a graphical upgrade?
Yeah,
Yeah,
no.
yeah. So Witcher 4, sure, but just a graphical upgrade of Witcher 3. No, I did that. Um,
Do you think they'll do a Witcher 4?
oh, of course. That's their cash cow. Why would they not? That's like asking if you think of
Because
Bethesda is going to make another Elder Scrolls. Of course they are.
because they follow books and I don't know where the
But
books
the
are
Witcher
because
games, the Witcher 3 takes place after the books. It doesn't follow the
really?
books. Yeah, yeah, it takes place after the books. I
Okay.
think the first Witcher game followed the books, and because I have a friend who's really into the books, and he read all the books, and he played all the games, and I think he said the first game takes place in the book. The second one I don't
The
remember if the second
assassination of the
one
king,
is
I
part of the
think it's in the
books.
book,
I
no?
think the second one takes you up to the end of the last book, I think. But The Witcher 3 is entirely outside the books. It
Okay.
takes place after the books.
Okay.
So, yeah. Because I think that was one of the things is they say in the books it's left ambiguous as to whether they died and went to because they go to like Avalon or something, right? I think I don't know, but it's left ambiguous as to whether they died and now they're in paradise or they're alive. And
It's very far away. I can't remember.
yeah. So it's left extremely vague as to what happened to them. And then obviously with the games they went with the nope, they're definitely still alive. So yeah. All right. Well, I guess that's about it for today. We don't really have anything else to talk about. There's no other news, really. It was kind of a dry week, but hey, with the Game Awards going on, I think that was probably the focus of everybody else. Oh, no, Antoine looks like he still wants to say something here.
Just before finishing the show, we just reached today our 800 subscribers on YouTube, so I wanted to say thanks a lot for following us and keep it up because in 1000 subscribers we are doing a special Vermintide 2 event. That's it.
All right. Yeah. So 800 subscribers on YouTube, which means that I can only assume that between YouTube, Facebook, and Twitch, we have over 1,000 subscribers. But I'd have to do the math on that. I can only assume. So yeah. So yay for us. All right. Unfortunately, Phil can't be here to celebrate, considering that a lot of them came for Rise to War.
Lord
So
of the Ring.
so
Yeah,
credit where credit is due. Yeah. All right,
exactly.
and with that, we don't have a theme yet for next week, but next week is going to be Christmas, I believe, right? Yeah, right before, so probably something
Mhm.
Christmassy. All right, and with that, I will leave you guys and catch you again next week. So, bye, everyone.
Have a good night.